Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mad Science Lab podcast. I am Aaron St. Denis. You can find me on Twitter at FFMadScientist. Brought to you today by the combination of the Fantasy Football Universe and the Fantasy Football Advice Network. I'm going to continue on with the 2020 Risers and Fallers series. Today, I do not have a fellow expert on. I have a coworker who plays in my home league. That works as well. Trey, how's it going, buddy?
Oh, it's going great. How you doing, buddy?
Not as good as you. I actually got to go to work this week. You still off with a knee injury. We to put you on the IR. What'd you tear in your knee? Yeah, LCL, ACL?
Torn patella tendon.
Oh, that's worse. That's even worse.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are not my riser in Dynasty. That's damn sure.
Yeah, and going on 43, I don't think I'll be anybody's riser.
43-year-old athlete coming off a knee injury. Yeah, you're my faller. I'm gonna change it. We will get into it quickly. We've got your riser. That is Baltimore wide receiver Zay Flowers.
Yes.
He's going into his second year. Wide receiver 31 last year, 77 catches on 108 targets, 858 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He is wide receiver 22 on Fantasy Pros, 24 on Keep Trade Cut, and in single QB leagues, he's 39 overall on Fantasy Pros, 41 overall on Keep Trade Cut. So he is a bottom end wide receiver 2 in tier 4 of receivers here on Fantasy Pros. Do you think he's going to rise a lot more? Like, how high are you on Zay here?
I like the kid. I really do. You saw a lot. I know what's on everybody's mind is that fumble in a AFC championship game. That's what everybody's thinking of. But you just got to see the body of work that this young man has put together, and I think they understand this offense that is going to allow him to strive. So I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna write it down, and I know this is gonna stay around. So I'm thinking top 15 for Zay Flowers.
I like that. I was a lot higher on him midway through the season. I don't love that he's tied to Lamar Jackson, who doesn't throw the ball at all. But you're right. That playoff game, that was not great. He had the two things, not just the fumble. The fumble I get. The fumble, he was just playing hard. That happens. It was the taunting penalty it earlier in the drive where I'm going, oh, yes. He's one of these receivers where you're down in a game and you're taking a stupid taunting penalty. I'm going, oh, tell me this isn't the mentality he plays with. But he looks like he's a good kid, and he looked like he came around. So I see it. Like I said, he's a low end wide receiver 2 at 22. He is in a huge tier starting from wide receiver 16 to 29, and he seems to be right in the middle. There's a lot of guys where I think you're going to take over him pretty easily. Well, maybe not. DJ Moore, DK, T. Higgins, any of those three? Do you like any, or do you like him over any of Moore, Metcalf, or T?
I like. Depends on T. You know what? I like him over T. Higgins and DK, but I think if he came up with DJ Moore, I think I would have to go DJ Moore.
That's tough for me. DJ Moore's been on this series before for Risers and Fallers. I don't know. I like DJ Moore. Best case scenario, Justin Fields is his quarterback. I don't know if that's a great scenario. Worst case scenario is it's a Caleb Williams, and as good as Caleb Williams could be, quarterbacks aren't really that great in year one, and DJ Moore's getting up there in age. I think he's probably in the conversation with all three of these guys. I'm taking him over Metcalf for sure. Probably taking him over T, and I think I'm probably taking him over DJ Moore as well. Then we get into some other guys that are tougher to gauge because they're all in a similar age. Like those three were all older than him, but we've got Nico, Rashee Rice, Drake London, Tank Dell, Addison, JSN. So you've got a lot of second and third year receivers. I think it's tough. I like him better than Rashee.
Yes.
How about you?
I agree.
I like him better than Drake London, especially with their quarterback situation.
Yeah, yes, 100%.
I like him better. I like him probably equal to Jordan Addison. It depends. I like Addison more, maybe if Kirk Cousins comes back. That's a tough one. Who do you have, Addison or Flowers?
I would still go. The quarterback situation. But if I had to choose, I'd definitely go Flowers right now.
Yeah, okay. I think I take him over JSN. How about you?
Yeah, 100%.
The tough one here is the two Texans, Nico and Tank Dell. I think Nico's being overvalued. I think he's good, but not this good. Tank Dell worries me because he's so small. Do you take either Texan over Flowers,
You
Nico or
know,
Tank?
if I think the first one I would consider would be Tank Dell, but I don't know. It's what I've seen with the young man when I watched him play, when I watched Baltimore games, and compared to Tank Dell, I would have to go Zay. I like the speed. I like the body of work, and the best part about it, I love how he took accountability ability for his mistakes in that game. You rarely get that now in professional leagues and even in the collegiate league. So just that alone, I know he's gonna come back hungry. So I'm gonna go Zay.
Yeah, he's so damn shifty. I think you're right. I like him. I think, like I said, Nico's being overvalued. Tank Dell and his height scare me. I think CJ Stroud is going to regress slightly. I think he's still a good quarterback, but and then they round out the tier here with Debo Samuel, who I'm taking him over easily, especially if I'm not in a like even in a win now. I think I'd rather Zay over Debo and Devontae Adams. You taking
Yes.
him over both?
Yes. 100%.
And then that'll transition us into who your faller is, the last player in that range, Stephon Diggs. Since he's your faller, I'm going to assume you're taking Zay Flowers over Diggs.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Me
It,
too. Me too.
it's hard because you know what? If anybody looks at the stats, I mean, any other receiver in the NFL would love to have the Stephon Diggs stats, but it's what you see out on the field. When he first came to Buffalo, you've seen the smile, the excitement, but the last 2 years, it hasn't been there, and the playoff game, the playoff game, the important games that you needed him in, he just wasn't there, including
Yeah.
last year's game against the Bengals.
I swear you can watch him lose to KC in the playoffs and you just see his soul leave his body every time. And I think he's done. He looks like he's lost a step significantly. But so we'll transition that to your faller, Stephon Diggs. We'll start with some of his stats, the concerning ones. He will be 31 in his 10th season. He's been wide receiver 46, 30, 19, 10, 24, 3, 7, 4, 9. So 4 straight top 10 finishes, 5 out of 6 top 10 finishes. Last season, 107 catches, 160 targets, 1,183 yards, and 8 touchdowns. I think they probably add a receiver. I think Gabe Davis is gone. I think he's lost a step here and isn't what he used to be. Keep Trade Cut has him as wide receiver 32, wide receiver 27 on Fantasy Pros. The big difference is the overall ranking for one QB. Fantasy Pros has him inside the top 50 at 48. Keep Trade Cut has him outside the top 75 at 76 overall. Keep Trade Cut, largely crowdsourced, kind of a good indication of how the general public values him. Fantasy Pros in one QB, the experts really push quarterback, so that's probably why the 25 player overall difference, almost 30. But either way, he's wide receiver 27 to 32 in the overall consensus. As I said, he's in that big tier, the tier 4 with Zay Flowers. He is coming in at the bottom with the older players like Diggs, Debo, and Devontae Adams. This just a case for you of he's getting old, he's lost a step, and he looks bloody miserable on that team now.
Yeah, you know, and the best part, sad part is that unfortunately, I don't have any shares in my riser, and I in my one dynasty league I have Stephon Diggs. I've had him out there, nobody's biting yet, so hopefully something happens. But yeah, I'm Zay Flowers all the way. Unfortunately, Diggs has, like I said, you've seen those last couple years, they're just not there. And that 31, that's not good.
Yeah, I just like I said, I feel like every time he loses to the Chiefs, you can just see a part of his soul leaving his body, and like he might just be done. And they look like they had some issues last year. I think they're probably going to add someone. I think for the first time, they may actually add a first round receiver. If Dalton Kincaid comes around, Dawson Knox, I think he's still on the payroll. They're still paying him a significant chunk. They've shown every indication they want to run James Cook a lot more. So I agree here. I think he's definitely at the bottom of this tier. I don't think there's a single player in this range. Like we talked about most of them. All the young guys, I think we're taking over Diggs. The closest for me, really value-wise here, is at the bottom with him. Diggs, Debo, Devontae Adams. I think I have that. If I had to rank it, Debo, Diggs, Devontae, but I don't know. How do you feel about those three? How do you have it ranked?
I'm looking at and it's crazy. I'm killing my players because I own Debo in the league, but I'm going Devontae, Diggs, Debo.
Debo, yeah, I took Debo. Let me look it up here. I don't have it in front of me. I feel like Debo's significantly younger, and that's why I went with he's 28. He's 28. Diggs, I said, is almost 31. Devontae Adams, I feel like he's almost 31. He is 31. So Devontae's the oldest. So I'm having Devontae at the bottom here. Debo's got too many mouths to feed in San Francisco. Ugh, this is an ugly range. Like, I don't particularly love any of the three of them, and I would love to trade down. But having said that, like the next tier below him, the trade that like you're kind of stuck with a guy like this, and you have to hope you can win this year and get one more year out of him because the tier down options are Jaden Reed, George Pickens, Christian Kirk, or some other old guys like Kupp, Evans, Cooper, Godwin. Like this is the range I think in drafts where you're either drafting old receivers or you might be pivoting to like quarterback, tight end in your draft. This is kind of a really ugly range here.
I think for me, I think if I take a chance on either one of those guys, it would be Jaden Reed. Just to pick and hope and just I don't know. It's the speed, what they did with the offense. I think he would be the only one I would take a chance on.
Yeah, I like Reed as well. I hate that there's so many mouths to feed there, and I don't know if I necessarily trust Love to be as good as he was, but I think you're right. That's kind of I feel like if you're in that position and you have Diggs, okay, so you still have Diggs in the Dynasty League I was in, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so by memory, I believe it's Taker who has Jaden Reed.
Yes.
I feel like he thinks he's a contender because he made the playoffs last year. I feel like you could flip Diggs for Jaden Reed and probably a second round pick. And I think you're probably willing to take Reed straight up for him, unless you're really sure you can win this year and that Diggs has something left. But like I said, that's just off the top of my head. I don't think you have to do that trade straight up, even if you like Reed. I think you could get a pick for it. But in that league, so. All right, Trey, thanks for joining me. That was concludes our latest edition of Dynasty Risers and Fallers. Once again, thank you for watching the Mad Science Lab podcast brought to you by the combination of the Fantasy Football Universe and the Fantasy Football Advice Network. I am Aaron St. Dennis. Find me on Twitter at FFMadScientist. Thank you again for my coworker, Trey, joining me today. At home, nursing that knee injury. Hopefully feel better soon, buddy. Thank you all for tuning in. Take care. I will see you again tomorrow.